Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Twinsburg Board of Education regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 19th. The time is 7:02, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Aiden, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mrs. DeFabio is absent. Mr. Felber?
Here.
And Mrs. Gordon?
Here. Okay, thank you. Would you all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, good evening and welcome to those who are
Sorry, for the approval agenda items.
I'm sorry, what was that?
For the approval of agenda and addendum items, can you break out I-6 and I-12 for me?
I-6 and I-12.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were going right into your report.
Okay. So, approval of addendum items. Do I have a motion to move? Change in addendum items, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And do I have a so moved by Mrs. Gordon? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. All right, thank you. So on to the President's report. Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Just a second. All right, Mr. Hitt, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes. All right, that passes 4-0. All right, and good evening and welcome to all of you who are present, and welcome to parents, staff, community members who are watching online, and special welcome, very special welcome to the staff members who are in our audience, some of which will be recognized tonight. We have a lot to celebrate this evening, especially with the recognition to staff who will be retiring at the conclusion of this school year. And so I'll try to keep my President's report brief this evening. So with the end of the school year quickly approaching, there is a lot going on in the district. Just lots of spring sports. They'll be wrapping up and coming to an end. We have end of the year school concerts and events. RBC had their Honor Corps celebration that was virtual online, as well as the Senior Scholarship and Award ceremony last week. And congratulations to all those seniors who were recognized and the RBC students who were recognized for the Honor Corps as well. Our State of Schools address was held last week, and it was sponsored by the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce, and it was well attended. It was good to get back together. We didn't have that last year, so it was good to hear about all the positive things that were happening in the school district. And we did hear from students too, as well as their experiences over the past year and what were challenging them and what was and what the positives were that came out of this. So it was really good to hear from the perspective of the students as well. And things are almost starting to feel like normal again, or the new normal. And I know we're hearing that term a lot this year, but that they're starting to come around to a new normal. And just with the start of the school year, hopefully it'll become even more like it was before. So last Friday evening, our seniors were able to celebrate their prom, which was well attended, and it was just another celebration with their peers before they wrapped up the school year. And it was really, I enjoyed seeing all the pictures online and what the parents posted. And the kids looked very classy and dressed up, and it was good to see them having a good time and being normal teenagers. It continued on with the Twinsburg after prom. It was a lot of fun with the music, games, and prizes. And from what I understand, the kids really had a really good time with that, as well as did some of the parents who volunteered and hung out there until the late hours of, Saturday morning. And again, thank you to all staff members, administrators, and the parents who volunteered to make these events happen for our seniors. And also a big thank you to the local businesses that donated prizes for the after prom, because they really went above and beyond this year with their donations. And the parents and students were just beyond grateful for that and able to celebrate this milestone event with their peers. And today officially marked the last day of school for our seniors. the last day of their experience in the Twinsburg City School District, and in just 5 short days, our seniors' time in the district will come to a close at the commencement ceremony at Quicken Loans Arena. And however, the next chapter of their lives are just beginning, so whether they're moving on to the military, a new job or trade, college, mission work, whatever it is that they're moving on to, I'm just really excited for what I've seen and what the future holds for these amazing graduates. And from what I've learned, I mean, they've learned to adapt, and from what these students have had to overcome over the past year, I have no doubt they can face really just about any challenge that's thrown their way. And I know that they have a bright future ahead of them, so well done, seniors. Tonight, Superintendent Hours will be updating us on the results of the parent surveys regarding the start and end time for the school day, and we will have a discussion regarding fees, and we have staff retirements to celebrate. So with that, I'll conclude my president's report and turn the meeting over to Superintendent Hours.
Good evening, Mrs. Davis, Board of Education. Welcome everyone who's here this evening. It's exciting to actually see folks at our meeting tonight. We haven't had many visitors for the entire school year, and tonight they're here because we're going to celebrate some outstanding members of our staff as they attain the status of continuing contract or are off to retirement as the class of 2021. And we're excited that they're here this evening with their family. We'll get to that in a minute. Just a reminder to our community, and not that I have to remind everyone, but next week is the last week of this school year. And although the entire year was very unique, our students focused upon their assignments and worked hard. And we're also very proud of our students. They've done a fantastic job this year, really diligent. And you know, if you're in any of our schools, the feeling is that the kids are happy. And it's just a great feeling and understanding that they've been at school this year in a very different circumstance, but we're very proud of them. We also want to thank all of our parents and our guardians. They have really shown their confidence in the school district this year and have really hung with us. It's been difficult, but I think that we have been transparent, we have communicated consistently with our families, and we've pledged to keep our students safe, which we have, and I think our families appreciate that. And so we thank our parents and our guardians and the residents for just always supporting the school district. And of course, we are truly indebted to our administrators, our classified members of the staff, and the certificated members of the staff. Never before has the word team meant more than this year, working together to live in a very different kind of world, and none of us have ever been here before, but our staff has just seemingly moved mountains to make sure that all of our students had what they needed to have to be successful. And you know, the really wonderful thing is that everyone has just taken care of each other. So kudos to all of the employees of the Twinsburg City School District for just really doing a tremendous job this year, ensuring that our students were safe and happy and continue to learn in a very challenging environment. And we are forever grateful to all the things that the staff has done this year to make sure that this year has been a success. Just a reminder to everyone that our second annual senior class parade kicks off this Sunday, May 23rd, beginning at noon. And right before the parade, our class of 2021 will have a chance to walk the halls of Twinsburg High School one last time. You know, they didn't have a year here like they thought they would, and they wanted to come in and say goodbye to the building and take some photographs of each other, and so we're really happy to be able to do that. Mr. Holland and Mrs. Johnson, as you know, are the two principals at this campus this year. They're super excited about the seniors coming for one last visit. So we welcome them at about 10:30 on Sunday morning, and then at noon we'll kick off the parade. I have to tell you that once again, the City of Twinsburg Police Department, the Village of Reminderville, and the Summit County Sheriff's Office has done a tremendous job of developing the parade route. I asked the township to rethink the parade route from last year, because what I remember from last year's parade is that the route went too much into the industrial park, and it really didn't go past very many houses. And so the Sheriff's Office has made some adjustments, and I know the three police departments have been meeting yesterday and today to finalize the route, so we should have that published hopefully tomorrow, if not Friday. so everyone knows what the parade route will be. And we really do hope that all of our families come out and cheer on the class of 21 as they drive through the community, with their parents at the wheel, of course. On Monday, May 24th, our graduates and their families will gather at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland for commencement. This is such a wonderful venue. I think our families will be very pleased by the environment that has been promised us. Tomorrow evening, high school administration, Mr. Welker and I will be going down to Rocket Mortgage for one last sort of dress rehearsal, making sure everything is in place for the students and their families. And I know that Dr. Hebert released the ticket link earlier today. So that is on its way. Again, all the families of the graduates will be receiving 8 tickets, which is 2 more than they would have if we had been at E.J. Thomas Hall in a normal year. And each graduating family will get 1 parking ticket to be able to park in one of the lots close to that facility. So, Board, we thank you for your generosity in making sure that this year's graduating class would have a wonderful venue in which to commence from. Also, commencement will be live streamed that night, thanks to our partners at Community Focus and thanks to the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. Cleveland Cavaliers and Community Focus have been working behind the scenes. You know, there's a lot of technical language that goes into all of this, and Mr. Kirtley's been helping us with that as well. And so our program will be live streamed at 7 p.m. on May 24th. Thereafter, the commencement program will be accessible via the mycommunityfocus.app. And then additionally, we will post the program on the website, our website. But if you go on our website right now, there's actually a listing of times our families can tune in to see the commencement program, and it's viewable on Spectrum Cable 1021. And then on the weekend of July 4th, there's actually going to be a community-focused graduation marathon. So it will be our commencement, Aurora's commencement, and Nordonia's commencement played over and over for anyone who wants to see them again. So we appreciate Community Focus. The staff there has always been great partners with our school district, and this is just another example of how they're supporting our students. Our students' last day of school for this year is Thursday, May 27th. It's almost here, I can't believe it. And then, of course, they'll head off to a well-deserved summer filled with relaxation and then we hope very happy and safe memories. And on Monday, May 31st, of course, is Memorial Day, and our Tiger Marching Band will be participating in the Memorial Day Parade as hosted by VFW Post 4929. We're always very honored to be asked to participate, and we look forward to a very solemn and appropriate patriotic ceremony and parade on the Memorial Day. So lots going on here, but this evening the main focus should be on celebrating wonderful staff members who have earned continuing contract status, as well as our retirement graduating class of 2021. But the first group we're going to recognize, we'd like to recognize those who are going to be recommended later in the agenda for a continuing contract. Board, as you know, teaching is a very complex job, and it demands a broad knowledge of subject matter, curriculum, and standards. Educators must have enthusiasm, a caring attitude, and of course, a love of students. Educators must have knowledge of discipline and classroom management techniques. And of course, our educators make a difference in the lives of the students in which are under their care. The educators we will introduce tonight will hold these special qualities, of course, and they've also met the requirements for a continuing contract as noted in Ohio Revised Code 3319.08D and 3319.11B. And we sincerely appreciate the hundreds of ways that these three wonderful, outstanding educators are touching the lives of our students here in the school district. To make a formal introduction this evening, I'd like to introduce our Director of Human Resources, Mrs. Belinda McKinney, who will take this from here.
Good evening, Board of Education, guests, Superintendent Hours. The first candidate for a continuing contract today is Kelly Coleman Taylor. She teaches, she's an intervention specialist at Dodge for grade 6. She has taught in the Twinsburg State School District for 6 years. When asked why she became a teacher, She said, through her experiences serving as an elementary school substitute teacher in the surrounding suburbs of the greater Cleveland area, she discovered her joy for supporting and teaching students who struggle academically. Mrs. Coleman enjoyed it so much she went back to school to earn her master's in education. A year and a half later, she was hired by the Twinsburg City School District. When asked to share a favorite classroom memory, Mrs. Taylor stated that a favorite classroom memory for her is when she was able to reward her students with quarterly reward parties in order to celebrate their success, which coincides with her motto, work hard, play hard. Although Mrs. Coleman Taylor and her students could not hold classroom parties this year due to the pandemic, she is looking forward to having them again. When asked what she considers to be the three most important qualities of a successful teacher, Mrs. Coleman Taylor stated patience, perseverance, adaptability, and flexibility. When asked how her students know that she loves to work with them, Mrs. Coleman Taylor thought she thought she knew, but she did not lunch with so many things, so she asked a few of her students. And their responses were, she works hard to help us to make sure we are not stressed out or worried. She is always there when we need her and will take the time to work with us. She is energized. I like her personality. She helps me and allows me to take my time and will wait for me to finish. When asked what she enjoys doing in her spare time, Mrs. Coleman Taylor and her family are very busy due to her two teenage sons. She is often volunteering to support their academic and extracurricular activities, and you will find her sitting on the sidelines cheering them on. When she gets a moment to herself, she likes to spend some quiet time at home or traveling somewhere sunny, hot, and with the beach for a few days of relaxation. Congratulations, Mrs. Coleman Taylor. The next educator to earn meet the requirements of the continuing contract is Christie Lewis, school counselor at Twinsburg High School. When asked why she became a teacher, school counselor, Ms. Lewis became an educator so that she could help children discover themselves, locate their path, and define success by their classifications. When asked to share her favorite classroom memory, she stated that she has many, but one memory that comes to mind was when her class planned a surprise birthday party for her with the help of her intern and invited her husband. They orchestrated this whole plan of having the principal call Ms. Lewis down to the office. When she returned to her classroom, it had been transformed, and Paul, her husband, was there with the cake. And everyone burst into the birthday song. When asked what she considers to be the three most important qualities of a successful teacher counselor, she stated the most important qualities of a successful teacher school counselor are empathy, reliability, and passion for the students we're working with each day. When asked how her students know that she loves to work with them, Ms. Lewis also asked her students, and they stated, Mrs. Lewis's door is always open. She makes herself available for us even if she's busy and has things going on. Mrs. Lewis is always available. Sometimes she might be working, but she will either stop what she is doing or tell you she will meet with you later, and she follows through and meets with you. In her spare time, Ms. Lewis enjoys gardening, reading, exercising, and watching her sons play sports. And when asked, is there anything else you'd like to include, Mrs. Lewis stated it takes a village and that she is a proud villager who dedicates herself to supporting students. Congratulations, Mrs. Lewis. Our final educator who has met the requirements for a continuing contract is Melissa Walters. She's an 8th grade English language arts teacher. When asked why she became a teacher, Mrs. Walters stated that she became a teacher because she wanted to be able to make a difference in students' lives the same way that her teachers and coaches did for her. When asked to share a favorite classroom memory, Mrs. Walters has several. She's already had so many great memories in the short time that she has been teaching in our district. From watching students achieve in the district's spelling bee to traveling to New York to see a student accept a national award for her writing accomplishments, and seeing many of her swimmers who she coached reach goals that they only dreamed that they would accomplish. When asked what she considered to be the 3 most important qualities of a successful teacher, Mrs. Walters stated the inclination to make a positive difference in student lives, compassion and empathy for her students with the ability to relate to them in order to build relationships, enthusiasm and a love for learning and teaching in order to pique students' interest so they can enjoy being in class every day. When asked how her students know that she loves to work with them, Mrs. Walters said she is enthusiastic about her content and shows interest in her students' lives. She loves to have conversations with her students about what is going on in their lives in and out of school. In her spare time, she likes to spend time with her family. Her family loves to enjoy the outdoors, swim, and cheer on the Cleveland sports teams. When asked if there was anything else she'd like to include, Ms. Walters is extremely grateful to have found an amazing district and school to call home as she continues her educational career. Congratulations, Mrs. Walters.
Christie and Kelly and Melissa, we are so proud of you and all that you've accomplished in your time here in the school district. And we are forever grateful for all that you do to support our students, particularly during this year, which has been just so very unique. You work hard with the children, you are collaborators, and you do all that you need to do to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. So on behalf of the Board of Education, we thank you for your dedication. And Board of Education, it's my honor to recommend Kelly Coleman-Taylor, Christie Lewis, and Melissa Walters for continuing contracts this evening. Thank you. Board, if you'd like to gather closer to the teachers, I'd be happy to take a photograph for the website. I haven't done this all year. It's like a reason to party. How about taking a mask off? Are you okay with that? These are forever photos, right? Thank you very much. Thank you. And now it's time to celebrate the retirements of some fantastic members of our staff. The individuals that we're going to celebrate this evening have been committed to the boys and girls of our school district for many, many years. And we are so excited for the fact that they are making the decision to head off into their retirements, and so excited for them and all the possibilities. But we are also very saddened by the fact that you would soon leave the Tiger family, because you are such an important part of who we are and what we do every day to support our children. So this evening we're going to celebrate our retirees, and much like the continuing contract teachers, we ask that you come forward and receive congratulations from the board and just kindly stay up on the stage till all retirees are introduced this evening. Our first retiree is not here tonight, and that is Mrs. Mary Veenheis. Actually, Mrs. Veenheis retired from the school district, I believe, back in December, and we certainly do miss her, and she's just a wonderful member of the Twinsburg High School staff. Most recently, she worked in the guidance department. But she had worked for our district for 19 and a half years, and prior to joining our staff, post-college, Mrs. Veenheis worked as a production planner for 12 years. She also subbed as an administrative assistant at Solon Middle School prior to becoming a Tiger. Mrs. Veenheis' favorite memories of her time with our school district all center around her interactions with our students. And even though she has been retired for just a few months, she says she really misses her co-workers and the students that she came to be so fond with in her time here. In her retirement, Mrs. Veenheis is planning lots of great golf and vacationing and visits with her family. Congratulations to Mrs. Mary Veenheis, and we wish her all the best. Next, we'd like to ask Mrs. Nina Kretinsky to please come forward. And it's been an exciting week for Mrs. Perchinsky because she just was made a grandma for the very first time. Her daughter just had a baby girl. Mrs. Perchinsky, I'm not sure this tops that at all, but we're going to try really hard tonight. Mrs. Perchinsky officially works for the Twinsburg City School District for 20 years, and she is one of the administrative assistants at Wilcox Primary School. Before that, she subbed both at Bissell and Wilcox for a couple years before attaining her full-time position. She's taken several years off when her children were born, and before that, Mrs. Perchinsky worked for 20 years in the trust department of both Huntington Bank in North Carolina and Ameritrust in Cleveland. Mrs. Perchinsky says she has so many fond memories of Wilcox Primary School, and here are a few of her favorites. She loves when the kids are coming in for their first day. They're so shy and timid, and then seeing them proudly show their parents around the school on open house night is quite a memory. She loves watching the children perform their holiday musicals and seeing the awe on their faces when Santa walks in the hallways at Wilcox, and getting hugs as the children come off the bus in the morning. And she enjoys seeing those same children come back with their own children for preschool and hearing them share their own fond memories at Wilcox Primary School. Mrs. Perchinsky said that she will miss her family at Wilcox as they have loved and supported each other through weddings and births, illnesses, recoveries, and the loss of loved ones. She will miss the shared jokes, the delicious potluck lunches, and the hugs just when it was needed the most. It's going to be really difficult to not be a part of this every day, is what Mrs. Perchinsky wrote. And right now, she's looking forward to being a grandma for the very first time. That is huge news. Her family is so excited to welcome their first granddaughter, and Mr. Perchinsky here is excited that they can travel now without their trips being planned during peak travel time. Congratulations to you. Our next retiree is not here because guess what? He's working tonight. He's our wonderful athletic trainer, Mike Shear. Mike, also affectionately known as Trainer Mike, said that he has had the pleasure of working in our district officially for 23 years, but if you add up some time as training before that, for 30 years. He was the athletic trainer for the first 8 of those years and then became a teacher athletic trainer for the final 23 years. Prior to working at Twinsburg, Trainer Mike was the athletic trainer in Beechwood from 1984 to 1989. He spent 1982 to 1984 as an athletic trainer at Tri-C Eastern Campus and got his start by volunteering at Warrensville Heights High School as an athletic trainer. While he was at Warrensville Heights, Trainer Mike met Nora Suter Riley and Maren Richardson while they were athletes at Warrensville Heights, so go figure. Trainer Mike said that if he had to pick one of his favorite memories, it was the girls' basketball state championship victories, and that was really a special time here in our school district. Trainer Mike said he will miss working with the students, athletes, and coaches the most. He said that there are so many great people he has worked with over the years. He said he will truly miss this wonderful community. Trainer Mike's wife, Jan, and he plan to travel a lot. They're going to Maine this June, and he also has quite a few house projects to work on. Sounds like Mrs. Shear has a list. And he's looking forward to spending time at the barn with their horses. Trainer Mike said that he also wants just to be an available husband to his wife, Jan. I wish he was here this evening. He has touched so many lives and is just a remarkable man, and we're going to miss Trainer Mike Shear, and wish him all the best in his retirement. Now I'd like to introduce Miss Margaret McGing. This is Miss McGing's 28th year in the Twinsburg City School District. She taught 3 years in Independence local schools, 1 year of subbing in various districts, and 1 year in Gibsonburg local schools. And this is where Miss McGing did her student teaching in 4th grade and was hired a couple of days after she graduated. Miss McGing cannot pick a favorite memory from her time in our school district, but she has a handful of memories that she shared with us, and here's a couple. Miss McGing's original interview was the day before the teacher workday, the year that she was hired. She was about to take her then 3-year-old nephew and 5-year-old niece to swim at a friend's house. She received a call to come to interview as soon as possible and to not worry about how she was dressed. So she went with kids in tow and with shorts and a shirt over a bathing suit, no makeup, hair in a ponytail, and in flip-flops. Boy, that's something. Miss McGee had an interview the next day, which was the teacher work day, with the superintendent, and she said she did dress professionally for the job. So, and apparently it worked, Miss McGee. You've been here quite a few years. She listed lots and lots of memories. One of them that I remember when Miss McGee was at the middle school was she would engage her students in a modified Lincoln Douglas style of debate in 8th grade, in her honors 8th grade, with some very serious topics. And the students were in the auditorium on the stage, and they had to debate these topics back and forth. And it was amazing to see how seriously they took their roles and the great dialogue that happened. And that doesn't just happen by a whim. That's the work of a remarkable teacher working behind the scenes to support what happens in her classroom. And she does say that she can brag that she taught a young man who went on to become an NBA player who currently is on the Pacers. Who is that?
Jafar Sampson.
There you go. So there you go. So you had an influence all the way up to the NBA. Miss McGee has always read aloud to students regardless of their age, and she feels teaching quality literature is such a valuable tool for anyone. Miss McGee will truly miss this the most. Miss McGee does not have any definite plans for retirement quite yet, but she hopes to read a ton, relax, volunteer in various places, and let God lead her to her next adventure, which she hopes might be an interesting part-time job someplace. Congratulations, Mrs. McGee, and thank you for your time.
The next retiree we'd like to recognize today is Carol White. Carol White has worked in the school district for 30 years. Before joining our district as one of our fantastic food service staff members, Ms. White went to school in California to become a travel agent. She then worked in Beechwood at a travel agency for a few years before having kids. When asked what her favorite memory from her time in Twinsburg City School District was, Ms. White said that she loved working with the kids, high school age all the way down to Wilcox age. She has so many memories, there's not one that stands out. Ms. White says what she will miss most is Denise, the manager at Wilcox, all her friends, and of course the students. When asked what her plans for the future are, she said in her retirement, Ms. White plans to travel with her husband and spend more time with her grandkids. Congratulations, Carol White. Our next retiree is Linda Brown. Linda Brown served Ms. Brown worked in Twinsburg City School District for 31 years. As a teacher, 1 year in Maple Heights and 1 year in Fremont, Ohio. When asked what her favorite memory from her time in the Twinsburg City School District, she said that her favorite memory was her interview for a teaching job in the Twinsburg City School District. When she showed up for the interview, she was only asked 2 questions and then told, well, if you really want the job, it's yours. Nobody else has applied for the position. Mrs. Brown left the interview feeling lucky that she was offered a teaching position, but wondering what have I got myself into. Fast forward 31 years, and Ms. Brown said that she realized how lucky she actually was to have landed a job in one of the best school districts in the state of Ohio. When asked what she will miss most when she retires, she will miss all of the amazing people she has worked with over the years. When asked what her plans for the future are, Mrs. Brown's son is getting engaged Memorial Day weekend, and he just bought a new house. So wedding planning and interior decorating are definitely in her future. Congratulations, Ms. Brown. The next retiree that I'd like to recognize is not here tonight, but it is Mr. Dean Taylor. Mr. Taylor worked for our school district for 32.5 years, most recently as our maintenance supervisor. Prior to his employment here, Mr. Taylor worked a number of maintenance jobs in the private industry, such as hotels, for approximately 14 years. Mr. Taylor's favorite memory of his time with our school district has to do with the relationships he built with the staff. He really enjoyed working with his team over the years. Mr. Taylor said that he won't miss anything as he retires, as he is looking forward to being stress-free at home while he enjoys his retirement. In his retirement, Mr. Taylor is looking forward to spending time with his family, especially his grandchildren. He is also looking forward to spending more time in his pool during the summer. Last but certainly not least, we'd like to recognize retiree Lisa Milano. Mrs. Milano has worked for the Twinsburg City School District for 33 years. She also subbed for a semester before that in Norton and worked in the North High School writing lab as a college student. One of Ms. Milano's favorite memories is the first time she took students to Europe with the honors humanities. Ms. Milano said that seeing the magic and wonder on their faces as they looked at landmarks and artwork that they had only read about was absolutely indescribable. It manifested the meaning of education. When the class returned to school and were working in the computer lab a few weeks later, one of her students burst out with, "Oh my God, Ms. Milano, I was standing a foot away from Queen Elizabeth's body. I can't believe it." Ms. Milano said that she will miss her colleagues most. She loves the excitement of the start of the school year, and she loves watching class dynamics gel and student pride when they write with facility and sophistication or discover something new about the literature they are reading. But Ms. Milano said that she will especially miss being surrounded by the intelligence and dedication of her amazing colleagues. She believes Twinsburg is second to none. Her plans for the future: Ms. Milano plans to spend quality time with her family and friends, tackle the list of books she's been meaning to read, garden more, learn how to sail, travel, and immerse herself in learning more about the world. In short, discovering life beyond graded essays, or as her students so eloquently put it, just chilling. Congratulations.
Anybody else want to take a picture? We are certainly going to miss all of you. I know we have another couple of weeks and many things will happen between now and the end of your work calendar, but just know we are forever grateful to all the many ways that you have touched our lives, and we really do hope that you are not strangers as you begin retirement, and we're going to miss you very much, and thank you for your dedicated service to our students. Notice the agenda has a little bit of an unusual thing on it.
Yes. So we're going to motion to recess at 7:41 so we can celebrate for a few minutes with these recent retirees before they walk out that door. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Culver. Mr. Aho, would you take the roll, please? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Culver?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes. All right, that passes 4-0, and we are in recess.
Congratulations, folks. I saw that.
Just like students a month, everybody clears out.
It's a great celebration, though. It's a nice way to send off.
Have people more than do it. That was nice. You know, still.
And then when I
Oh, my goodness. I was all there.
But yeah, to do renumber.
Okay. But don't necessarily, well, I'll read
You tell me what's easier, because that was a little awkward. Is it easier to do it right before, or is it easier?
You know what? I guess just before now, we can move it before the meeting and we'll just say the change. All right. Let me get my glasses on. All right, so we are going to reconvene the meeting, and it is 7:48. And on to communications. Are there any committee reports at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we are on to action item, well, item I, administrative report.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. This evening, there are actually two separate administrative reports. Mrs. Harding needs to queue up the technology, so we'll be in just a minute.
All right.
Mrs. Davis, I did make an error on the actual nomenclature. It's L6 and L12.
I think this was it. Okay.
Yep.
Let's get out of the way.
Board of Education, as we do every year in the month of May, is we recommend to you for your consideration the academic and pay to participate fees for the following school year, in this case the 21-22 school year. The other thing that we usually bring before you tonight would have been the prices for breakfast and lunch here in the school district. However, given the fact that the USDA and the Department of Education is allowing school districts to participate in the summer seamless program for the duration of next school year, we will not have to ask for your approval for the meal prices, because all students would be able to continue to eat breakfast and lunch for free into next year. So that is omitted this evening on purpose, because there really isn't a need for that. But I bring that up because we do need to talk through something with you this evening about the application for students who would have otherwise been eligible for the federal meal program, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. Previously, the board's finance committee met with district administrators to review our recommendations and then to make some determination with regard to fees for next year. And what you see here is the recommendation coming out of that committee for the academic fees for 21-22 from preschool through the 12th grade. What you will note in blue is that the Finance Committee is recommending, and so being presented this evening, that we will not increase academic fees for the 21-22 school year. They will stay at the same levels as the present school year, and that is for your consideration this evening, further down on the agenda. Now, I mentioned about the federal meal program, and it's really important, and I'm really hopeful that our parents are going to understand what we're asking this evening for. The board previously had determined that a student who is eligible to participate in the federal lunch program and receives free meals would have their academic fees waived for that school year. And that students who are eligible for reduced price meals through the federal meal program would receive their academic fees at half of the cost. The difficult thing that we saw this current year, and we're going to see it again moving into next year, is because our students have the ability to eat free next year because of the summer seamless meal program, our parents may feel that they don't need to apply for the federal meal program. Well, Board, you have used the eligibility for the federal meal program to determine which student qualifies for free meals and which students qualify for which students qualify for free or a waiver to academic fees, and which children would qualify for their fees to be reduced by 1/2 the cost. So if the board moves forward this evening with the recommendations here, then what parents are going to need to do is, even though it doesn't apply to the meal program for the year, their application and then from there their eligibility for the meal program still plays large in this fee structure. So we will do programming, we will do messaging. Mr. Bindus is very much aware of the importance of this. And the other piece, Board, that we are very cognizant of is the fact that eligibility for the federal meal program will have huge implications on our title funding, particularly Title I. So we are going to request our parents, even though the child doesn't need the application to receive their lunch and breakfast for free, our parents still need to apply through that application process for the purpose of the fee structure, but also it will help us to maintain some of our federal dollars through the title programs. So it's a pretty important thing that we'll have to communicate to our families about the federal meal application. With regard to pay to participate fees, with this process for determining pay to participate fees was first established in the 2011-12 school year during the operational change plan. And we have very large spreadsheets from which Mr. Fantone and Mr. Welker, Mr. Desmond, our transportation supervisor, Mrs. Farley, myself, we sift through the actual costs for running all of these programs for pay to participate fee structures. The actual fee that is on the agenda this evening is 25% of the total cost of the program. And over time, we make adjustments based on the current cost of the program, which is divided by the average number of participants in each sport or activity over the past 4 years. And the costs that we talk about include transportation costs, personnel, entry fees, equipment costs, facility rentals, etc. In practically every case, you will see some slight adjustments, and the slight adjustments are caused by the fact that supplemental contracts continue to increase in cost. So that's part of what you'll see as a recommendation for a slight increase. The other thing, Board, 2 years ago, we made the commitment to assume the cost for the rental of the ice hockey rink, the gymnasium for the gymnastics team, as well as the rental to use Roseland Lanes for the bowling team. And so those costs have been taken out of the calculation for the fee structure because that cost is no longer in the recipe for determining the total cost of the program for the parents to pay the fees. So just wanted to clarify that. That happened, I believe, now 2 years ago that the board determined to assume the cost. And the thinking was we don't charge a facility rental fee for the use of Tiger Stadium. We don't charge the parents for the basketball court here at the high school. And so why would we charge the parents for the use of the ice hockey rink in Garfield Heights? That doesn't make sense. So we appreciate your consideration of that. Once again, the federal meal program application will play large in the amount a family will be charged for pay to participate. So again, even though all kids will be eating breakfast and lunch for free, we ask our parents to please take the time to complete the federal meal program application. And in the past, Board, what you have directed me to do is to reduce by 1/2 the pay to participate fees for a child who would be eligible to receive free meals as part of the federal meal program, or to reduce the pay to participate fee by 1/4 for a child who would be eligible to receive reduced price meals as part of the federal meal program. So again, we're asking our parents, please to complete that federal meal program application as well as a waiver form, because the waiver form then allows Mr. Bindus to release this information to the treasurer's office, to Mr. Fantone, and to the administrative staff that process the fees for the school district. Mr. Felber.
Is there a seasonality to when they have to do the meal form? Because I'm thinking of, you know, the meals would not traditionally start on day one, but if you've got someone that maybe is a spring sport only, they might not be thinking about that. Is there a timing that we have to get to, you know, not only the athletes, but, you know, those that, you know, need to apply?
Yes, actually, with the board's approval of the fee structure, soon thereafter, we will begin communicating myself, Mr. Bindus, Mr. Fantone, Mr. Schwed at the middle school, encouraging parents to fill those applications out sooner rather than later. It doesn't matter if your child's participating in the fall or the spring of next school year. Again, it has implications to our federal allotment of dollars through our CCIP. And so we want to make sure that we maintain the same level of participation through the application process, even though the students would still eat free through the summer seamless meal program. Okay. So a couple of examples. So if a student qualifies for free meals, free lunches and breakfasts, and say that student wanted to run track at the high school fee for next year is $100. Their reduced price to participate next year would be half that at $50. Another example, this is for a student who qualifies for reduced price meals. For example, our pay to participate fee for the RBC Power of the Pen is $60. A quarter of that would make the price for that fee equal to $45. And so, it pays for parents to apply through that process so that they may be eligible then for the reduced fees. Again, just a reminder, parents would be asked to please fill out the 21-22 federal meal program application, and also that waiver has to be signed off. Information that we receive through this application process is highly confidential. True story, I cannot even ask Mr. Bindus who qualifies. It's not for me to know. And so if parents want us to be able to transfer eligibility to the treasurer's office so that we can process the appropriate level of fee structure, the parents have to sign permission for that information to be shared. So everything is held to the highest degree of confidentiality. And again, we appreciate Mr. Bindus and Mr. Fantone working with us to help parents work through that process. Questions about pay to participate can be forwarded to Mr. Fantone. There is his email address and his office number. And then again, for the next school year, we're expecting to have the Easy Pay process open for parents to link off of the district website. And parents can pay by check, but what we have found, the majority of our families are now paying online. It's a little bit easier for them to do that. So those are the recommendations this evening. As part of board agenda is actual the fee structure that we've put together based upon the direction provided by the Finance Committee. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
No question, but just right now, I'm glad to see for this coming school year that there is not that increase. I'm sure that would be very helpful for some families. And like you said, these fees were established a while back now with the 25% of the cost, and that happened, what, 11-12 school year with the operational change, because we had to look at, or before us, but we had to look at how we're going to, cut some of these things without having to take away from the students as much. So I'm glad to see that we aren't raising them as of now. Thank you.
Board of Education, in your packet this evening were copies of these PowerPoints as well as 2 documents that were clipped to the back of the PowerPoint regarding the updated district reopening plan. I just want you to have those in front of you because we're going to be talking about a little bit of a different kind of recommendation, and you want to take a look at those documents. Jen can post the next one. For this evening, I'll present an update regarding the district reopening plan for the 21-22 school year, and this evening's update is specific to the proposed start and end times for each of our schools. Last board meeting, we presented the proposed start and end times, and the next day thereafter, we actually asked for feedback from our parents and our staff members. And this evening, we're going to present a couple of important thoughts regarding those surveys, as well as an updated proposal for the start and end times for each of our schools. Several areas were considered when determining an adjustment to the start and end times at each of our campuses. And these considerations included the feedback from the surveys, our parents' desire for the district to restore transportation, and our commitment to transporting private and parochial students who are residents of our school community. Morning and afternoon session start and end times at Cuyahoga Valley Career Center were also considered, as well as the athletic and extracurricular schedules for primarily our middle and high school students. Although we do have students who participate in ski club at Dodge, so those students who are also considered in this conversation. And again, as we have all said many times, although the pandemic has been a challenge, what we do know is that we've learned a lot through it, and some things we'd like to maintain, and some things maybe not so much. But there has been a number of silver linings, things that we wouldn't have otherwise known if we hadn't lived through a pandemic. And so, as you walk through life, you always learn something new every day, and I think that that's the case with this pandemic. And in thinking about the reopening plan, lots of consideration for the positives, as well as the unique way we had to adjust to keep everyone safe. The next slide here illustrates the school start and end time for each of our schools, as well as provides definition to the teacher's workday. This is the schedule that was presented on May 5th, 2021 at the last board meeting. And when we developed this particular schedule board, we were challenged by research that would indicate that adolescents learn better if their school day started later in the day. And so we landed on the schedule, understanding what the routes were, understanding what the draw was on transportation for our residents who attend parochial and non-public schools, and that is a big consideration always in the scheduling of routes. So we were pretty confident that this was a good schedule. Obviously, when you change anything, you have counterpoints and pro points to it, and we knew that when we launched the survey on May 5th, that we were going to get a lot of different opinions. And so shortly thereafter the board meeting, a survey was sent out to our parents, guardians, as well as all of our staff members. Pretty pleased by the number of respondents. We had 1,158 parents respond to our requests for feedback, and we had 234 members of our staff respond. So pretty good feedback, and the survey closed just this past Sunday night. So it was open for a couple weeks, so plenty of opportunity for parents to offer opinions as well as staff. Interestingly, the feedback was either very favorable or very unfavorable regarding the start and end times. Since the opinions of our parents and staff members are extremely important to us, we went back to the drawing board to see if there may be adjustments that could be made, which would start our secondary schools maybe even a little later. And I just want to pause here and thank Mr. Welker and Mr. Desmond and Ms. Abbott. The day after the board meeting, called all three of them and I said, hey, I need you to roll up your sleeves. Let's see if there's another way of looking at this. And so they got busy at looking at the routes, and we do have a proposal to make for you this evening. Little non-traditional, but it is something to think through. In order to begin our school day at the high school, at RBC, and at Dodge a little later, several additional adjustments will need to be considered. First, there will need to be a greater reliance on group stops, especially for our older students. On the screen is the current guidance our transportation department uses to establish bus stops and group stops. Although we never go to these extremes, these measures are considered when establishing the location for group bus stops. And I specifically asked Mr. Desmond and Ms. Abbott about the 7 through 12 group stops. Was it really a half mile from students' home? And they said, no, it's usually more like 600 yards at the extreme, and that they pay close attention to locations of intersections, where the lights are, making sure that they're not putting students out where there are sidewalks to walk through or stand upon. And so lots goes into the recipe when they establish these group stops for the bus stops for our students. But if we were to adjust the starting and ending times, we have to be able to carve off some of the stop time. And the only way to do that is to establish group stops in a bigger degree and primarily for our secondary students. Next, we would need to adjust the afternoon pickup times for resident students who attend St. Rita's School, Hudson Seton, and also the Montessori School, and Valley Christian Academy. Basically, the afternoon pickup times could be adjusted up to 30 minutes later than their current afternoon pickup times. Obviously, we would need to communicate any adjustments to the afternoon pickup times with our resident families and these schools as soon as possible. And to the extreme, the one school that would have the longest wait for the transportation to get there would be St. Rita's. We transport over 100 students every day to St. Rita's, they're resident children here. But in order to adjust our school day start and end time for our students here in our district, there needs to be some relief on the transportation for the parochial non-public schools. And so this would be a consideration to ponder. Also, in order to be able to continue transportation to Walsh High School and CBCA, we looked at staffing. We would need one additional bus driver, and we would also need to maintain one additional bus in the working fleet. So a little bit of an investment. However, the end result would be an adjusted start and end time schedule for all 5 of our schools that I think might be more highly and favorably received. And so with all those considerations, with the additional group stops for secondary students, with delaying the pickup times in the afternoon routes for the elementary parochial non-publics, and with an additional bus driver and maintaining one additional bus in the working fleet, we were able to adjust the schedule here even more. And so tonight we're going to talk through this proposal. So if those things happen and we're able to move those few pieces of the puzzle as indicated, instead of the high school student day beginning at 7:45 as proposed on May 5th, that would move back the start of the high school day to 8 o'clock. Instead of the high school day ending at 2:40, it would end at 2:55. For RBC, you notice in parentheses it says 6 through 8. So for those 6 sections of 6th grade who are going to be on the RBC campus, they would be transported with middle school students. Their start time would be 7:25, and that's a significant difference because on May 5th, we have the RBC route scheduled to, school day scheduled to begin at 7:05. So that's 20 minutes later for the middle school start of their day. And then originally we suggested 2 o'clock as the end of the day. Their school day would end on the RBC campus at 2:20. For Dodge, originally we suggested the start of the student's day at 7:05. This backs the student day up by 10 minutes, so their start of their student day would be 7:15. Their day would end at 2:10. Originally we were suggesting a 2 o'clock dismissal. Bissell is only adjusted by 5 minutes. Originally we began that school day at 8:25, and now it would be 8:30. And we ended that school day at 3:15, and now it would be 3:20. So a very small adjustment there, but I needed one to get all of these pieces and parts in play. Wilcox does not change. It is the same schedule that we presented on May 5th with the start of their day at 9 and the end of their student day at 3:50. I also this time included what the preschool schedule would look like. We did not include it the last time. Preschool hours are 2.5 hours in the morning, and that's the AM session, and the PM session is 2.5 hours in the afternoon. So the AM preschool would start at 9:05 and end at 11:35. The PM preschool would begin their day at 1:15 and end at 3:45. So it's a little off the schedule of Wilcox. That's purposeful, so that we don't have the 3- and 4-year-olds dismissing as at the same time as the older students who attend Wilcox Primary School. Before we get to this next slide, board, did you have any questions or concerns, comments about the adjustment? Again, this was in response to the survey results. So, as I indicated, lots of parents and staff members love the adjusted schedule of May 5th, and as you saw in the survey results I sent you, many were not so pleased, and so we just went back to the drawing board for another option to consider. Thoughts about this adjusted schedule?
I have one question. Are we leaning towards a 4x4 block schedule for high school, or are we leaning towards going back to the full schedule? Do we have line of sight on that? Because I think this does affect high school CCP students and maybe CBCC.
That's not been decided quite yet, Mrs. Gordon. Honestly, I have the inkling it will go back to the blue and white schedule, but we're awaiting the appointment of the new high school principal who will be at the helm of that. And so we are hopeful to recommend the new high school principal at the June 2nd board meeting, so shortly thereafter that master schedule becomes full and focused and the high school staff will get to that work. If we were not to do the blue and white schedule, there would be an investment in staffing that I am not sure would be appropriate at this time to recommend. So I would suggest at this point, it looks like it will be a blue and white schedule, but that will be defined once the high school principal is employed, so they can have some direction or some part of the direction that will be presented.
Okay, thank you.
I guess one question or comment I have. So the later start times, obviously, much better for the high school students and the older students who definitely need more sleep and not to be on the buses so early and the buildings so early when they already have kind of a hectic schedule. One thing I'm wondering too, though, like with Wilcox, so that's later start, and with the 3:50 dismissal, I'm just wondering when the last, and I know we don't have an exact time, but how late the latest buses would get home, because I guess there's been some concern about maybe the youngest ones not having as much time from home to going to bed and just a few hours of, that's the one thing that I was wondering about, because I know logistically, it's just to get all the pieces and parts, you're obviously going to have people are, like you said, completely thrilled with this and then concerned with some of the changes in the scheduling. So I guess my question is for those who are going to be, the Wilcox are the students who are going to be getting the latest in the buildings, and how late maybe does that bring the last group of kids home?
In our last conversation, Ted, correct me, I thought Mr. Desmond said the children are on the bus 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Right.
All right.
And the thing about the later runs is you can actually commit more buses to the Wilcox routes because you're freed up from anybody else. By that time, the upper 3 buildings, with the exception, we do have some drain on the routes because of extracurriculars and athletics. And we have an agreement with the TSSA whereby if that happens, we don't have our own transportation. We use a place such as LT Transport to get our athletes to an event, and then the bus drivers finish the routes and meet the students and bring them home. So it's really pretty complex. That schedule for Wilcox is the same schedule that they are on this year. We realized it's the way to start. It used to be the Bissell schedule. So for years, that was where Bissell landed. So it's flip-flopping the last two bands of schools.
So then for the most part, they're, on an average day, they're getting home usually before 4:30ish.
On a good day without traffic and snow,
Without
yes.
winter snow
Right.
and traffic.
Right. And, you know, and there's lots of different complications to a route in the afternoon. And we currently are working through the parents' information portal where parents will be able to identify where their bus is. So we'll launch that next school year. It's being piloted right now. And Mr. Desmond and Miss Abbott also monitor the GPS on the buses. So they're pretty astute as to where the buses are in a delay or how the buses are running as far as routes go. And if your child is currently being transported, you know that we use the Blackboard Connect system to inform parents when there are delays on those routes. So we try to keep our families in the loop.
So just one comment. I read through the comments, and I felt like actually Wilcox and Bissell were very favorable, and it felt like THS was also pretty favorable. It was either favorable or let's just go way later. The only one I'm concerned with is Dodge up there, really. I think that people might still be concerned, so just help me think through the constraint. Is it that we don't have enough buses, or we don't have enough people?
Right, Chad, you want to explain? We do the routes on tier system, and that I believe is tier 2A, 2B for Dodge.
Yeah. So with our tiers, basically we're looking at 4 tiers of transportation. So that's the challenge, is trying to do that, and really we're trying to squeeze it between that 7:15 to 9 o'clock time slot. Otherwise, each school requires about 15 to 20 buses, depending on the number of kids. So you would have to look at investing in more buses, investing in more drivers, which really right now we're struggling to keep our current levels, let alone adding another 10 to 15 or whatnot.
So if we move from 7:15 to a later time, it would be a required investment in a bus and humans, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think this is in keeping with a lot of what we've done over the past year, and kind of getting feedback from our parents. I mean, you guys do the work up front, you present the information, you gather feedback from parents. In this instance, we got feedback, put together a plan, and obviously, based on that, what was proposed, we had to go back to the drawing board and crunch numbers and be extremely creative and do some things to come up with another proposed plan. It's one of those situations where I don't know that if you do anything more, you're going to please everybody. I do commend you guys for sitting down and figuring out other ways, that things that you may not have considered the first time, in order to, please our parents. I mean that's at the end of the day. We want to make sure that everybody's, that as many people as possible are happy. I go back to my original comments during the first presentation where, it's one of those things that was a blessing in disguise. As a result of having a pandemic, we literally had to flip the district upside down and move people all over the place, which required us to kind of do a lot of these metrics and just all of these things to kind of figure out how we operate in a different way, because we're in an extremely difficult environment. And so the fact that you guys were able to kind of come back and re-examine what already took a lot of work, to come back with another plan based on the feedback, and I read the comments as well. I think you did as much as you could to address, a lot of the comments on the other side, that they weren't as favorable. So, I would gather to say that, I would guess that, as a result of kind of making those adjustments, that we're pleasing probably a vast majority of the parents to the extent that we can. And then this is after, we're gonna have to, do some more expenditures with respect to, a bus and people. Bus drivers are in extremely short supply. I mean, and that's not just with Twinsburg, that's every district, not only just regionally, but throughout the state is having a problem with hiring bus drivers. So that's still gonna be a challenge, but from what I can see, I think you guys did a yeoman's job of pulling together the team and pulling all your resources together and all your brain power to come up with something that is a little bit more amenable to our parents and our students.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. So I guess my question this evening, board, is which schedule? This second one, as Mr. Curtis just indicated, we went back in and we tried to adjust enough, as much as we could, without a huge capital expense. Well, I guess we permanent improvement money cuts versus the bus, and then of course with the additional staff members. Honestly, that's the thing I worry about. It's very difficult to recruit additional bus drivers. You saw that we had the bus at the board office with the sign on it, because that's something that we continue to work at. This proposal obviously will ask resident families who do not attend our school districts to have some inconvenience for their children at the end of their school day. Historically, we have left the parochial non-public routes, left them alone. We have not tinkered with them. In the 10 years I've been here, we have never touched them. But if we're to address the concerns from our public school parents, and they have been asking for the later start time, we've been hearing about it, we see what the research says, the only way to get that job done is to make these few adjustments. So, just interested to know which proposal, or is there another idea you would like us to ponder? I'm hoping that it's one of these two, because we're sort of running out of new ideas, but of course we can always go back and look at it again.
Like everybody said, I don't think you're ever going to make everybody happy. The parochial parents that are going to be at the later wait time, and that's a stress on the parochial school itself. They have to assign people to watch people for an additional half hour. It just is what it is. Trying to get the most benefit to the most students. I'm fine with the May 9th proposal. I'm sorry, May 19th proposal here.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm sorry, I don't know if I made that clear, but I am too.
Thank you, both. Thank you, Mrs. Gordon. Mrs. Davis.
The May 19th, the later start times do seem like they would benefit our students much greater.
Well, thank you. So we appreciate all the feedback. Really, we have been successful this year because we've asked folks for their opinions, we've asked for feedback, and we continue to respond to that. So I thank the parents and the guardians and all of our staff members who took the time to give us some comments. It was enough to say, okay, let's get this done. And I think this is going to be very doable, and we look forward to posting this new schedule for our community. The additional thing, it's not on this PowerPoint board, but just so you know that within the next week we'll be talking to our families about a declaration for the 21-22 school year. And I say that sort of hesitantly, knowing that things are starting to open and changes are happening from the health orders and the governor and the Department of Education. So I am asking the board to please meet in a work session in the next couple weeks so that we can define what it is as far as the direction that you desire, so that we can finalize our plan and then ultimately get the plan posted for our families. I really do think that our community understands that we continue to just have to be as nimble and agile as we can. But families still want to know what the plan is, and so it's a catch-22. We want to communicate that out, but at the same time, communicating a definitive plan is difficult, understanding that within the last week, we've had such significant change in direction, even about social distance and masking. So hopefully we can determine a date for a work session so that we can have a longer conversation about these important topics and ultimately be able to publish the plan. And I think that will go a long way in easing some anxiety for everyone, our staff, our students, and their families. I thank you for your attention this evening.
Okay, and moving on to J, remonstrance. Mr. Abel, do we have any remonstrance? Okay, thank you. Action item K, personnel. 1, employment certificated. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified, pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And 2, employment classified. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified, pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Do I have a motion to move, please? So moved by Mr. Felber. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion on these items?
Congratulations to the retired.
Yeah, definitely congratulations.
Congratulations to retirees, and also special thanks to T. Mike. I'm not surprised at all he wasn't here because he's working. That's just him. But both of my kids throughout their time in the district have been impacted by T. Mike. My daughter, who graduated in 2012, spent a lot of time with him learning about what he does and how he does what he does. And I think that has some influence on why she chose the nursing profession. And she's a registered nurse now, and she loves her job, but she also, thinks of him very fondly. She always makes sure to say hi whenever she is home and she sees him, and he gives her a big hug. He remembers all his students. And my son has spent a lot of time around T. Mike as well, being a member of the football team. But more importantly, I think that T. Mike had a big impact on him, so much so that that's what he wants to do. He's going to be pursuing athletic training, exercise science. That's what he wants to do, and I think it had a lot to do with being around T. Mike and seeing him work. A lot of the programs that he would put him on for his little aches and pains and getting dinged up and things like that, and he's going to be studying that. So T. Mike is a one-of-a-kind, special guy, and as he remembers his time at Warrensville, I was at Warrensville during that time as well. He's been around a long time. I think his retirement is well-deserved, but gosh, big shoes to fill because he was so loved, but he worked so hard. He's so dedicated to what he does. So I'm sorry he's not here to hear these remarks, but I do wish him well.
Yeah, you pretty much said it all, Mark. But not just the students too. He's an inspiration and to the staff and those around him, his positive attitude and his kindness. And he just, always, I've never had heard him say a bad thing about anybody. Just always the kids looked up to him, the staff really appreciates him and his hard work, and pretty much ditto everything you said. But congratulations and retirement. That's going to be well earned. All right. Anybody else? All right. Mr. Aho, can you call the roll, please, for these?
Mr. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes, those items pass 4-0. 4. All right, moving on to action item L, new business. 1, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the attached listing of media items to be deleted from the inventory per the attached exhibit. 2, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the revisions to the following job descriptions per the attached exhibit: Director of Human Resources, Payroll Officer, Pupil Services Department Secretary. 3, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accept the donation from Heinens, 4540 Richmond Road, Warrensville Heights, Ohio, 44128, in the amount of $929 to the Twinsburg High School as part of the Teaming Up for Education program, per the attached exhibit. 4, donation from Twinsburg Athletic Boosters. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a donation from the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters, 1150 Waldo Way, Twinsburg, Ohio, 44087, in the amount of $400 to Twinsburg High School class of 2021 to contribute to the cost of lunch, food trucks for seniors last day, per the attached exhibit. 5, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a donation from the RBC and Twinsburg High School PTA, 11136 Ravenna Road, Twinsburg, Ohio, 44087, in the amount of $750 to Twinsburg High School class of 2021 to contribute to the cost of lunch food trucks for seniors last day, per the attached exhibit. And 6 will be the gymnastics contract. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a gymnastics facility use agreement with Gym World of Twinsburg, 9085 Dutton Drive, Twinsburg, Ohio, 44087, for the use of gymnastics facility for the Twinsburg High School gymnastics team from November 1st, 2021 through March 1st, 2022, for the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 7, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a bowling facility use agreement with Rosen Lanes, 26383 Broadway Avenue, Bedford, Ohio, 44146, for the use of bowling facility for the Twinsburg High School bowling team from September 1st, 2021 through March 12th, 2022, for the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 8, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the tennis facility use agreement with Western Reserve Racket and Fitness Club, 11013 Aurora Hudson Road, Streetsboro, Ohio, 44241, for their use of tennis facility from July 1st, 2021 through May 27th, 2022, per the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 9, hockey agreement. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the ice rink facility use agreement with the City of Garfield Heights, Ohio, and Municipal Corporation, care of Dan Coastal Recreation Center, 5411 Turney Road in Garfield Heights, Ohio, for the use of the ice rink and facility for the Twinsburg High School hockey team from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, for the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 10, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a proposal for an overnight extended student trip for the Twinsburg High School boys and girls track teams to travel to Hilliard Darby High School, Columbus, Ohio, for the OHSAA State Track and Field Championship on Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, returning on Saturday, June 5th, 2021. The cost of this trip is being paid in full by the Twinsburg Athletic Department with assistance from the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters as sent to the board under separate cover. And 11, agreement from Sendero Therapies. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves an agreement for occupational therapy services and consultation with Sendero Therapies Incorporated for the 2021-2022 school year. Services provided for an occupational therapist or occupational therapy assistant will not exceed the cost of $306,000 for the 2021-2022 school year. Occupational therapists will be billed at a daily rate of $545. Occupational therapy assistants will be billed at a daily rate of $425 as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expense. 12, Ohio High School Athletic Association membership. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following Board of Education resolution authorizing 2021-2022 membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Whereas the Board of Education and its administration desire for the schools with 1 or more grades at the 7th through 12th grade level under their jurisdiction to be voluntary members of the OHSAA. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education that Twinsburg High School and R.B. Chamberlain Middle School do hereby voluntarily renew their membership in the OHSAA, and that in doing so, the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, and business rules of the OHSAA are hereby adopted by this board as and for its own minimum student-athlete eligibility requirements. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the board reserves the right to raise student-athlete eligibility standards as it deems appropriate for the schools and students under its jurisdiction, and be it further resolved that the schools under this board's jurisdiction agree to conduct their athletic programs in accordance with the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, interpretations, and decisions of the OHSAA, and cooperate fully and timely with the Executive Director Office of the OHSAA in all matters related to the interscholastic athletic programs of the schools. Furthermore, the schools under this board's jurisdiction shall be the primary enforcers of the OHSAA Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, and the interpretations and rulings rendered by the Executive Director's Office. The administrative heads of these schools understand that failure to discharge the duty of primary enforcement may result in fines, removal from tournaments, and suspension from membership and or other such penalties as prescribed by bylaw 11. And 13, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education authorizes up to 1 day of per diem compensation for each teacher who is required to prepare their classrooms for a move to another school for the 2021-2022 school year. Teachers will prepare classrooms for relocation during the week of May 31st, 2021. This is an ESS/ER fund expenditure. So do I have a motion to move for those items? So moved by Mrs. Gordon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion on these items?
Good luck to the boys and girls track team. They've been on a nice little streak lately, so hoping that the streak continues.
And then, of course, a big thank you to Heinens for donating for the Teaming Up for Education program, and for the TAG and RBC and High School PTA for providing funds for the seniors' last day for their food truck. So that's really appreciated. Thank you to them. Any other discussion? All right, Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes, those items pass 4-0. And moving on to action items L, which will not be numbered.
15 and 16.
Is it 15, 16, or 14? Yeah, 15 and 16. Okay, 15, just a second. Academic fees and paid to participate fees 2021-2022 school year. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the academic fees and paid to participate fees for the 2021-2022 school year per the attached exhibit. And 16, which was, just a second, student handbooks 2021 and 2022. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the 2021-2022 student parent handbooks for the Twinsburg High School, R.B. Chamberlain Middle School, George C. Dodge Intermediate School, Samuel Bissell Elementary School, Wilcox Primary School, Wilcox Integrated Preschool Program, and Kindergarten Preparatory. And do we have a motion to move, please? So moved by Mr. Felber. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
No.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes. Those items pass 3-1. All right, now 16. Okay, let me take a deep breath here. 16, Energy Conservation Project Financing Resolution. A resolution authorizing the execution of master lease agreement and a related equipment schedule between Huntington Public Capital Corporation as lessor and the board as lessee, providing for the lease and eventual acquisition of certain energy conservation measures and related improvements to school district facilities and related matters. Whereas Section 3313.375 of the revised code provides that the Board of Education for the school district may enter into a lease purchase agreement, providing for the construction, enlarging, or other improvement, furnishing, and equipping, and lease, and eventual acquisition of facilities and improvements to facilities for any school district purpose. And whereas Section 3313.375 further provides that the obligations of the Board of Education under such a lease purchase agreement shall not be construed as net indebtedness of that school district pursuant to Section 133.06 of the revised code. And whereas this board has determined to provide for the acquisition of certain energy conservation measures and related improvement to school district facilities, including lighting and HVAC upgrades and improvements, pursuant to master lease agreement and related equipment schedule between Huntington Public Capital Corporation as lessor and this agreement as lessee, a copy of which lease has been presented to the board. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Twinsburg City School District, County of Summit, Ohio, that Section 1, Declaration of Necessity of Lease. It is hereby declared necessary and advantageous to the school district for this board to enter into the lease with the lessor for the purpose of leasing and eventually acquiring the improvements for school district purposes. Section 2, the lease. Determination of lease terms, other instruments. The treasurer is hereby authorized to negotiate the terms for and to sign and deliver in the name of and on behalf of the school district the lease in substantially the form as now on file with this board, with such changes not inconsistent with this resolution and not substantially averse to the school district that are approved on behalf of this board by the treasurer and the president of this board, all of which shall be conclusively evidenced by the signing of the lease by the president of the board and treasurer, providing that the aggregate principal components of the rental payments due under the lease shall not exceed $2,262,570. The interest component of those rental payments shall accrue at the annual rate not in excess of 2.15. The lease term shall consist of a series of terms ending at the end of the school district's fiscal year and subject to renewal at the option of the school district upon the appropriation of funds to pay rental payments due under the lease during the following renewal term. And the final renewal term of the lease shall end not later than 15 years from the commencement date of the lease, provided that the principal components of the rental payments shall be subject to prepayment at any time in whole but not in part at a redemption price of 102% of the outstanding principal balance plus accrued interest as set forth in the lease. The treasurer, superintendent, and president of this board are further authorized to sign any certifications, finance statements, escrow agreements between the board and the Huntington National Bank in substantially the forms that have been presented to the board, documents and instruments, and to take such other actions as are desired, advisable, necessary, or appropriate to consummate the transactions contemplated by this resolution and the lease. Section 3, appropriation of funds, application of lease proceeds. The funds necessary to make any rental payments due and to meet any other obligations of this board or the school district under the lease during the current fiscal year have been appropriated and shall be used for that purpose. Any monies received by the school district in consideration for entering into the lease shall be paid into the proper fund or funds, and those monies are hereby appropriated and shall be used for the purpose for which the lease is authorized. Section 4, federal tax considerations. The aggregate of the principal components of the rental payments payable under the lease is hereby designated as qualified tax exempt obligations for purpose of the Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. In that connection, the school district hereby represents and covenants that it, together with all its subordinate entities or entities that issue obligations on its behalf or on behalf of which it issues obligations in or during the calendar year in which the school district delivers a lease, have not issued and will not issue tax-exempt obligations as qualified tax-exempt obligations for purposes Section 265B3 of the Code, including the obligations in an aggregate amount in excess of $10 million, and have not issued, do not reasonably anticipate issuing, and will not issue tax-exempt obligations, including the obligations but excluding obligations other than qualified 501c3 bonds as defined in Section 145 of the Code that are private activity bonds as defined in Section 141 of the Code, and excluding refunding obligations that are not advance refunding obligations as defined in Section 149D5 of the Code. in an aggregate amount exceeding $10 million unless the school district first obtains a written opinion of nationally recognized bond counsel that such designation or issuance, as applicable, will not adversely affect the status of the obligations as qualified tax exempt obligations. Further, the school district represents and covenants that during any time or in any manner as might affect the status of the obligations as qualified tax exempt obligations, it has not formed or participated in the formation of or benefited from, availed itself of any entity in order to avoid the purposes of subparagraph C or D of section 265B3 of the code, and will not form, participate in the formation of, or benefit from, or avail itself of any such entity. The school district further represents that the obligations are not being issued as part of a direct or indirect composite issue that combines issues or lots of tax-exempt obligations of different issuers. This board covenants that to the extent within its power and control, it will use and will restrict the use and investment of the proceeds of the lease in such manner and to such extent as may be necessary so that A, the lease will not constitute a private activity bond or arbitrage bond under sections 141 or 148 of the code as amended, or to be treated other than as bonds to which section 103A of the code applies, and B, the interest components of rental payments due under the lease interest will not be treated as a preference item under section 57 of the code. This board further covenants to the extent within its powers and control, A, that it will take costs to be taken such actions as may be required of it for the interest to be and remain excluded from gross income for federal tax income purposes. B, that it will not take or authorize to be taken any actions that would adversely affect that exclusion. And C, that it or persons acting for it will, among other acts of compliance, apply the lease proceeds to the government to the government purpose of the lease, to restrict the yield on investment property acquired within the proceeds, and make timely and adequate rebate payments to the federal government if required to do so. Maintain books and records and make calculations and reports, and refrain from certain uses of the lease proceeds as applicable of the property financed with such proceeds, all in such manner to the extent necessary to assure such exclusion of that interest under the code. The treasurer is hereby authorized, A, to make or effect any election, selection, designation, choice, consent, approval, or waiver on behalf of the board with respect to the lease as this board is permitted or required to make or give under the federal income tax laws, including without limitation thereto any of the elections providing for, in, or available under section 148 of the code for the purpose of assuring, enhancing, or protecting favorable tax treatment or status of the lease or interest, or assisting compliance with requirements for that purpose, reducing the burden of or expense of such compliance, reducing the rebate amount or payments of penalties, or making payments of special amounts in lieu of making computations to determine or paying excess earnings as rebate, or obviating those amounts or repayments as determined by that officer, which action shall be in writing and signed by the officer. B, to take any and all other actions, make or obtain calculations, make payments, and make or give reports, covenants, and certifications of and on behalf of this board as may be appropriate to assure the exclusion of interest from gross income and the intended tax status of the lease. And C, to give one or more appropriate certifications of this board for inclusion in the transcript of proceedings for the lease, setting forth the reasonable expectations of this board regarding the amount and use of all the proceeds of the lease, the facts, circumstances, and estimates on which they are based, and other facts and circumstances relevant to the tax treatment of the interest and the tax status of the lease. Section 5, essentiality. This board hereby finds and determines that the improvements are essential to the school district's operations and serves as an essential government function of the school district, and that the improvement will be used solely for the essential government functions and not for private business use. Section 6, retention of bond counsel. The legal services of Squire Patton Boggs, LLP, as bond counsel be and are hereby retained. The legal services shall be in the nature of legal advice and recommendations as to the documents and the proceedings of the lease purchase transaction hereby approved herein. In rendering those legal services as an independent contractor and in an attorney-client relationship, that firm shall not exercise any administrative discretion on behalf of the school district in the formulation of public policy, expenditure of public funds, enforcement of laws, rules and regulations of the state, the school district, or any other political subdivision or the execution of public trusts. That firm shall be paid just and reasonable compensation for those legal services and shall be reimbursed for the actual out-of-pocket expenses it incurs in rendering those legal services, whether or not the lease purchase transaction is completed. The treasurer is authorized and directed to make appropriate certification as to the availability of funds for those fees and any reimbursement, and to issue an appropriate order for their timely payment as written statements are submitted by that firm and in paying other financial costs in connection with the lease purchase transaction at the direction of this board. Section 7, prior acts ratified and confirmed. Any actions previously taken by the school district officials or agents of this board in furtherance of the matters set forth in this resolution are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed. Section 8, compliance with open meeting requirements. This board finds and determines that all formal actions of this board and of any of its committees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that result in such formal actions were held in meetings open to the public and in compliance with the law. Section 9, captions and headings. The captions and headings in this resolution are solely for the convenience of reference and in no way define, limit, or describe the scope or intent of any sections, subsections, paragraphs, subparagraphs, or clauses hereof. Section 10, effective date. This resolution shall be in full force and effective immediately upon its adoption. I'm glad I didn't have an ask for that one. All right, do I have a motion to move for this, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Any discussion on this item?
Well, just that, you know, this is the last step in this process for the energy conservation initiative that we started, I don't know, over a month ago, something like that. So I just want to, you know, thank Mr. Aho and Mr. Welker for all their work in kind of getting us to where we are right now. This is something that's going to allow us to not only address a lot of our needs and making sure that, you know, our infrastructure is good, but also realize through energy savings that it's something that's going to be cost efficient and effective for the district. So, thank you.
All right. Hearing none, no other discussion. Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
what was that again?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. Davis,
Yes. And that item passes 4-0. Moving on to 17, furniture purchase from Scholar Craft. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a proposal cover from Scholar Craft, P.O. Box 170748, Birmingham, Alabama, 35217, for the purchase of district-wide furniture in the amount not to exceed $127,086 and, oh, wait, just a second, is that a decimal? $126,086. Is that a decimal? Am I reading it right?
yeah.
It's 20 cents.
Okay, 20 cents. I had to read that twice, or a little symbol next to that. As sent to the board under separate cover, that would be expensive furniture. This is a permanent improvement fund expenditure. Yeah, I'll go for that one. All right, do we have a motion moved, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Curtis. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Felber. Any discussion on that? All right, thank you. Hearing none, Mr. Aho, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes, that item passes 4-0. And item M, miscellaneous. Besides anything that we've spoken about tonight, does anybody have anything else for miscellaneous this evening?
Well, you mentioned after prom, your president's remarks, but I also kind of wanted to offer my remarks on that. I was one of the parents that volunteered to help chaperone and, you know, make sure that masks were being worn and social distancing and so forth and so on. Not a problem kids have kind of been doing this a while, so I didn't really have to do a whole lot of, those things. But I will say that the kids, they had a great time. It was very well attended. Pretty much everybody followed the rules. A lot of prizes. I think some kids walked out of there with some flat screen TVs and Apple Watches and just amazing stuff, all donated. So a lot of parents basically chipped in and helped set up and also helped break down. I think we got out of there, it was actually shy of 2 a.m. I will never do that again. But I will say, I want to thank Stevie Romano. She just killed it. And obviously she couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of other parents, but coordinating all of this and working with all of these entities to get them to donate items and constantly promoting it every day. She's still promoting things every day. It could not have happened without her, and it went off, without a hitch. So, I just wanted to offer my thanks to all the parents that participated and donated their time to making sure that our kids had a night to remember.
Definitely. And then next 4 or 5 days are going to be very busy for the staff, the seniors, the administrators. So best of luck with everybody, and I'm really looking forward this year to seeing those seniors on stage on Monday. So really excited. We'll see you then.
Madam President, I did have a miscellaneous comment.
Yes.
I'm going to make a comment based on electorate, and then I'm going to infuse my own opinion. The electorate places us up here to make opinions and to vote in our best conscience as board members. We don't come in with agendas per se. We make hundreds of decisions a month. And I'm a little confused by the fact that we have agenda changes. I will never say any board member has to vote a certain way. But when we make agenda changes to an agenda that has been pre-published, that the agenda can be changed, normally that indicates a board member would like to discuss that issue a little bit more in detail. When we break out agenda items and then we have a motion read and then we have no discussion, the electorate has no idea why we vote the way we do unless we explain that vote. We've had many spirited discussions in this board in the 8 years that I've been here, and the discussion is there for a purpose. There are times where people mention something, you have a discussion, and it may actually change your vote based on that colleague's opinion. But when we sit up here and vote yes or we vote no, with no comment whatsoever when there's dissent, it confuses me. And my opinion is that if we're going to vote in an open meeting, which this is, and there is dissension, that there should be some discussion of why there is that dissension, so the colleagues as board members understand, maybe there is something that other board member has a concern with, but if they don't share it, the electorate doesn't know, and your colleagues don't know, and it just goes as a vote, and we don't have any explanation. So I've been seeing the trend doing this. It's okay to change the agenda. I think there's plenty of time to do that ahead of time. But if we're going to change an agenda and then not have any discussion on why an item is broken out and there's dissension, I think we're shortchanging the public.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. Fowler. Do we have any other discussion at this point? All right, hearing none, we have a need for executive session. That the Board of Education enters into executive session at 9:01 to discuss employment and compensation of public school employees as per Board of Education Policy 0166A, investigation of complaints against a public employee, and as per Board of Education Policy 0166B, and to review negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of employment as per Board of Education Policy 0166E. Do I have a motion to move, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Fowler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Mr. Ayo, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mrs. Gordon,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes, that item passes 4-0, and we are in executive session. Thank you for coming and thank you for watching. Have a good night.